I'm been instructed to read Judgment, and I've been putting it off, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. It's 11:41 p.m. Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Okay, and I'll be starting off on Ezekiel 30 and moving from there. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, prophesy and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Well, and say, alas for that day. For the day is near, the day of the Lord is near. A day of clouds, a time of doom for the nations. A sword will come against Egypt, and anguish will come upon Cush. When the slain fall in Egypt, her wealth will be carried away and her foundations torn down. Cush and Lydia and all Arabia, Cub and all the people of the covenant land will fall by the sword along with Egypt. This is what the Lord says. The allies of Egypt will fall, and her proud strength will fail. From Migdol to Aswan, they will fall by the sword within her, declares the sovereign Lord. They will be desolate among desolate lands, and their cities will lie among ruined cities. Then they will know that I am the Lord, when I set fire to Egypt, and all her helpers are crushed. On that day, messengers will go out from me in ships to frighten Cush out of her complacency. Anguish will take hold of them on the day of Egypt's doom, for it is sure to come. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will put an end to the hordes of Egypt by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, aka Donald John Trump. He and his army, the most ruthless of nations, will be brought in to destroy the land. They will draw their swords against Egypt and fill the land with the slain. I will dry up the waters of the Nile and sell the land to an evil nation. By the hand of foreigners, I will lay waste the land and everything in it. I, the Lord, have spoken. This is what the sovereign Lord says. I will destroy the idols and put an end to the images in Memphis, aka Donald Trump, aka Kent Christmas with his Nashville, Memphis fake stuff going on, false prophecy going on. No longer will there be a prince in Egypt, and I will spread fear throughout the land. You hear that, terrorist? I will spread fear throughout the land. I will lay waste Upper Egypt, set fire to Zoan, and inflict punishment on Thebes. I will pour out my wrath on Pelusium, the stronghold of Egypt, and wipe out the hordes of Thebes. I will set fire to Egypt. Pelusium will writhe in agony. Thebes will be taken by storm. Memphis will be in constant distress. The young men of Heliopolis and Budapest will fall by the sword, and the cities themselves will go into captivity. Dark will be the day of Taphanes when I break the yoke of Egypt. There her proud strength will come to an end. She will be covered with clouds, and her villages will go into captivity. So I'm guessing again, aka Donald Trump, I will inflict punishment on Egypt, and they will know I am the Lord. Pharaoh's arms are broken, aka Donald John Trump. In the 11th year, in the first month, on the 7th day, the word of the Lord came to me, a son of man. I have broken the arm of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, aka Donald John Trump. It has not been bound up to be healed or put in a splint so that it may become strong enough to hold a sword. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I'm against Pharaoh, king of Egypt. I will break both his arms, the good arm as well as the broken one, and make the sword fall from his hand. Dang, so that means he's going to re-break the broken one and break the other one. Wow. I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon and put my sword in his hand. But I will break the arms of Pharaoh, and he will groan before him like a mortally wounded man. I will strengthen the arms of Oh, yeah, I can see that, because when I had mace to his face, it was, oh, I'm sorry, Victor. I know I've been wrong this whole time, and I'm going to stop all the bull crap, right? And then the very next day, when I went to spray him in the face after he tried to break in my room, he punches me right in the face. On to verse 25. I will strengthen the arms of the king of Babylon, but the arms of Pharaoh will fall limp. Then they will know that I am the Lord. When I put my sword into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he brandishes it against Egypt. I will disperse the Egyptians among the nations and scatter them through the countries. Then they will know I am the Lord. Pharaohs as a felled cedar of Lebanon. And that's crazy they would use the word cedar, because I went to Cedar Crest Elementary School after they had kidnapped me and had me in, changed my name and had me in Baton Rouge, Alabama with them. Louisiana, excuse me. Okay, so in the 11th year, in the 3rd month, on the 1st day, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Oh, and also Cedar, because he also goes by Sam Woodroof. So, yeah. Okay. Who can be compared? Wait. Son of man, say to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and to his hordes, who can be compared with you in majesty? Consider Assyria, once a cedar in Lebanon, with beautiful branches overshadowing the forest. It towered on high, its top above the thick foliage. The waters nourished it, deep springs made it grow tall. Their streams flowed all around its base and sent their channels to all the trees in the field. So it towered higher than all the trees of the field. Its boughs increased and its branches grew long, spreading because of abundant waters. All the birds of the sky nested in its boughs, and all the animals of the wild gave birth under its branches. All the great nations lived in its shade. It was majestic in beauty, with its spreading boughs for its root went down to abundant waters. The cedar in the garden of God will not rival it, nor could the junipers equal its boughs, nor could the plane trees compare with its branches. No tree in the garden of God could match its beauty. I made it beautiful with abundant branches, the envy of all trees of Eden in the garden of God. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because the great cedar towered over the thick foliage, and because it was proud of its height, I gave it into the hands of the ruler of the nations, for him to deal with according to its wickedness. I cast it aside. And the most ruthless of foreign nations cut it down and left it. Its boughs fell on the mountain, and all the valleys, its branches lay broken, and all the ravens of the land. All the nations of the earth came out from under its shade and left it. All the birds settled on the fallen tree, and all the wild animals lived among its branches. Therefore no other trees by the waters are ever to tower proudly on high, lifting their tops above the thick foliage. No other trees so well watered are ever to reach such a height. They are all destined for death, for the earth below among mortals who go down to the realm of the dead. This is what the sovereign Lord says. On the day it was brought down to the realm of the dead, I covered the deep springs with mourning for it. I held back its streams, and its abundant waters were restrained. Because of it, I clothed Lebanon with gloom, and all the trees of the field withered away. I made the nations tremble at the sound of its fall. When I brought it down to the realm of the dead to be those who go down to the pit, then all the trees of Eden, the choicest and best of Lebanon, the well-watered trees, were consoled in the earth below. They too, like the great cedar, had gone down to the realm of the dead, to those killed by the sword, along with the armed men who lived in its shade among the nations. Which of the trees of Eden can be compared with you in splendor and majesty? Yet you too will be brought down with the trees of Eden to the earth below. You will lie among the uncircumcised with those killed by the sword. This is Pharaoh and all his hordes, declares the sovereign Lord. We're going to Ezekiel chapter 32. In the 12th year, in the 12th month, on the 1st day, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, take up a lament concerning Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and say to him, you are like a lion among the nations, And listen, when I have to go in its room at nighttime, whenever other people are here and I have to use this restroom, since the first day it growls at me, So that's kind of crazy, right? You are like a lion among the nations, but it's really too cowardly to be a lion. But it does growl to let me know that it is the Pharaoh, the one, because it's very aware of my knowledge of the Bible as well, and so it knew that by doing that I would know that it was who it was, right? So that was his way of bragging covertly, right? You are like a lion among the nations, and trying to intimidate me too, right? Which did not work, but therefore there you have it. That's what it is. You are like a monster in the seas, thrashing about in your streams, churning the water with your feet, Michael Del Foot. They call him Defeat, and muddying the streams. Yes, it does, and it will not stop. It poisons everything it touches, and it keeps the good for itself. Yeah, because when it was gang stalking me in New Orleans, it was giving somebody something. And I'm not going to say who or what it was, but I'm going to say this much. That it said, we'll do this and we'll give all this other stuff to everybody else. And it was like a bunch of like poison, right? And dude was like, well, that's like not cool, right? And dude was like, well, we're doing them a favor. We're helping winging them off, right? And so that's its mentality, and that's what it does, okay? That's what Donald Trump does. After all, what does it say? All we need is a system where it's in control, right? Okay, this is what the sovereign Lord says. With a great throng of people, I will cast my net over you, and they will haul you up in my net. I will throw you on the land, and do notice here, it's not saying I might do these things, right? And we know this is the promise keepers talking here. No, it's saying what is going to happen, right? I will throw you on the land and hurl you on the open field. I will let all the birds of the sky settle on you, and all the animals of the wild gorge themselves on you. I will spread your flesh on the mountains and fill the valleys with your remains. I will drench the land with your flowing blood all the way to the mountains, and the ravens will be filled with your flesh. When I snuff you out, I will cover the heavens and darken the stars. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon will not give its light. All the shining lights in the heavens I will darken over you. I will bring darkness over your land, declares the sovereign Lord. I will trouble the hearts of many peoples when I bring about your destruction among the nations, among lands you have not known. I will cause many people to be appalled at you, and their kings will shudder with horror because of you when I brandish my sword before them. On that day of your downfall, each of them will tremble every moment for his life. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. The sword of the kings of Babylon will come against you. I will cause your hordes to fall by the swords of mighty men, the most ruthless of all nations. They will shatter the pride of Egypt, and all her hordes will be overthrown. I will destroy all her cattle from beside the abundant waters, no longer to be stirred by the foot of man, or muddied by the hooves of cattle. Then I will let her waters settle and make her streams flow like oil, declares the sovereign Lord. When I make Egypt desolate and strip the land of everything in it, when I strike down all who live there, and let me tell you, Donald Trump has almost been struck down right in front of my face, right in his head, twice in the same year, recently. Once because it was abusing me with its verbal abuse, cursing me out in the garage. On a perfectly calm evening, there came lightning and almost struck him in the head. It jumped back 10 feet, but as soon as it was under the core part again, it starts popping off at the mouth again. Right? And then after it went and slandered my name with the courthouse, after getting me all the way to Louisiana, where I had no transportation, all the way in Florida. I was cut in the corner to go to the kitchen, and he had the window wide open, and lightning almost struck it again in the face. Right in its face. Then I will let her waters settle and make her streams flow like oil, declares the sovereign Lord. And then it also in the same year almost fell through the attic into its living room. When I make Egypt desolate, and so, no, the fake assassination attempt, as you can see right here, that God did not save him from no fake assassination attempt, and also you can see that its assassination won't be an attempt. It will be an actual assassination, okay? Then I will let her waters settle and make her streams flow like oil, declares the sovereign Lord. When I make Egypt desolate and strip the land of everything in it, when I strike down all who live there, then they will know that I am the Lord. This is the lament they will chant for her. The daughters of the nations will chant it for Egypt, and all the hordes will chant it, declares the sovereign Lord. Okay? Now, on to verse 17. In the 12th year, on the 14th day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, wail for the hordes of Egypt, and consign to the earth below both her and the daughters of mighty nations, along with those who go down to the pit. Say to them, are you more favored than others? Go down and be laid among the uncircumcised. They will fall among those killed by the sword. The sword is drawn. Let her be dragged off with all her hordes. From within the realm of the dead, the mighty leaders will say of Egypt and her allies, they have come down, and they lie with the uncircumcised, with those killed by the sword. Assyria is there with her whole army. She is surrounded by the graves of all her slain, all who have fallen by the sword. Their graves are in the depths of the pit, and her army lies around her grave. All who have spread terror in the land of the living are slain, fallen by the sword. Elam is there with all her hordes around her grave. All of them are slain, fallen by the sword. All who have spread terror in the land of the living went down uncircumcised to the earth below. They bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. A bed is made for her among the slain, with all her hordes around her grave. All of them are uncircumcised, killed by the sword, because their terror had spread in the land of the living. They bear their shame, and those who go down to the pit, they are laid among the slain. Meshech and Tubal are there, with all their hordes around their graves. All of them are uncircumcised, killed by the sword, because they spread their terror in the land of the living. But they do not lie with the fallen warriors of old, who went down to the realm of the dead with their weapons of war, their swords placed under their heads and their shields resting on their bones. So these warriors also had terrorized the land of the living. You too, Pharaoh, will be broken and will lie among the uncircumcised with those killed by the sword. Edom is there, her kings and all her princes. Despite their power, they are laid with those killed by the sword. They lie with the uncircumcised, with those who go down the pit. All the princes of the north and all the Sidonians are there. They went down with the slain in disgrace, despite the terror caused by their power. They lie uncircumcised with those killed by the sword, and bear their shame with those who go down to the pit. Pharaoh, he and all his army will see them, and he will be consoled for all his hordes, and were killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord. Although I had him spread terror in the land of the living, Pharaoh and all his hordes will be laid among the uncircumcised with those killed by the sword, declares the sovereign Lord. On to chapter 33. The word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, speak to your people and say to them, when I bring the sword against the land, and the people of the land choose one of their men and make him their watchman, and he sees the sword coming against the land, and blows the trumpet to warn the people, then if anyone hears the trumpet but does not heed the warning, and the sword comes and takes their life, their blood will be on their own head. Since they heard the sound of the trumpet but did not heed the warning, their blood will be on their own head. If they had heeded the warning, they would have saved themselves. But if the watchman sees the sword coming and does not blow the trumpet to warn the people, and the sword comes and takes someone's life, that person's life will be taken because of their sin, but I will hold the watchman accountable for their blood. Son of man, I have made you a watchman for the people of Israel. So hear the word I speak, and give them warning from me. When I say to the wicked, you wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not speak out to dissuade them from their ways, that wicked persons will die for their sin, and I will hold you accountable for their blood. But if you do warn the wicked person to turn from their ways, and they do not do so, they will die for their sin, though you yourself will be saved. Son of man, say to the Israelites, this is what you are saying. Our offenses and sins weigh us down, and we are wasting away because of them. How then can we live? Say to them, as surely as I live, declares the sovereign Lord, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but rather that they turn from their ways and live. Turn from your evil ways. Why will you die, people of Israel? Therefore, son of man, say to your people, if someone who is righteous disobeys, that a person's former righteousness will count for nothing. And if someone who is wicked repents, that person's former wickedness will not bring condemnation. The righteous person whose sins will not be allowed to live, even though they were formerly righteous. If I tell a righteous person that they will surely live, but they trust in their righteousness and do evil, none of the righteous things the person has done will be remembered. They will die for the evil they have done. And if I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, but then they turn from their sin and do what is just and right, if they give back what they took in pledge for a loan, return what they have stolen, follow the decrees that give life, and do no evil, that person will surely live and they will not die. None of the sins that person has committed will be remembered against them. They have done what is just and right. They will surely live. Yet your people say, the way of the Lord is not just, but it is their way that is not just. If a righteous person turns from their righteousness and does evil, they will die for it. And if a wicked person turns away from their wickedness and does what is just and right, they will live by doing so. Yet you Israelites say the way of the Lord is not just, but I will judge each of you according to your own ways. Yeah, I can't remember. I already read all that, dude. Alright, I think that's good for now.